Hi, I'm Caroline Svedner, and I'm here today to tell you more about the person I chose for my Lest We Forget project. In this project, we were to choose a controversial figure from our era of study and deliver a 5-minute presentation that digs deeper on the importance of our person to further educate others about them. As you do so, you must use visual and audio representation that includes a biography or another source. For my project, I chose Dorothea Dix. She played a huge role in founding and expanding more than 30 hospitals for the treatment of the mentally ill. The biography I chose is called Dorothea Dix, Advocate for Mental Health Care by Margaret Muckenhoop, published in 2003. This book provided me with in-depth information on Dorothea's life from beginning to end. Dorothea Dix was born in Hampton, Maine on April 4, 1802, to Joseph and Mary Dix. In the biography I purchased, it suggested that there are not many records of Dorothea's childhood, but her first few years were marked by family disasters, such as her father's brothers losing huge amounts of money from the family business and destroying the Dix's business. 10-year-old Dorothea had spent her time helping her dad build Methodist books to sell in his store and taking care of her brothers. Along with this, Dorothea was constantly ill and her health was not in the best shape. She also did not attend school when she was young. Later in life, she did not admit to having parents. She would either claim she did not have parents or consider herself an orphan. She chose to run away to live with her grandmother in Boston, but she was soon sent back to her parents since her grandmother could not provide for her. After Dorothea was kicked out by her grandmother, Dorothea was arranged to live with Sarah Frisk in Worcester, a niece who married a doctor. This was a blessing in disguise for Dorothea. Dorothea wanted to make herself useful, unlike Sarah Frisk, who leaned on her husband for everything. So she opened a schoolhouse in 1816 at the age of 14. 3 years later, she published a small book to help school teachers. In the biography I purchased, it suggested that by the Civil War, Conversations on Common Things and Guide to Knowledge with Questions were both written by Dorothea. These books were reprinted 60 times and were very successful, and they provided Dorothea with small income. She continued to publish several other books, and in 1831 she opened her secondary school, but just 5 years later, she felt overwhelmed by her physical and mental illnesses, so she had to step away from teaching. Dorothea's struggles led her to become a more compassionate advocate for people who were diagnosed as mentally unstable or insane. Dix's bad health led to the end of her teaching career, but she volunteered to teach Sunday school classes to women in East Camford's jail. While she was there, she saw how mentally unstable people were treated. These people were treated very badly. They were chained to beds, starved, and abused. The mentally unstable were treated as if they were criminals, and Dorothea immediately became determined to improve these conditions. Dorothea submitted her first memorial to the state legislature. These pamphlets were the only way a woman could participate in political life in America during this time. The biography Dorothea Dix, Advocate for Mental Health Care by Margaret Muckenhoop stated, this memorial showed how Dix worked to create a role for herself in public and draw attention to the bad treatment of the mentally ill in prisons. She began to research to improve these conditions and to find proper care for those who were mentally ill in prison. Dorothea successfully lobbied state governments to build and pay for mental asylums, and she enlarged the state mental institution in Massachusetts. Then she moved to Rhode Island and New York to finish her accomplishments. Since Dorothea had suffered from constant illness herself, this might have been what drove her to change the way the mentally unstable were treated. Dorothea did not just stop there. She decided to help in the Civil War as a nurse. Although she had never been trained as a nurse, she dedicated herself to the Union. She was soon appointed the superintendent of Army nurses for the Union Army. Dix set many impossibly high standards for recruited nurses, and this led to the Army nurses being extremely successful and needed for advancing the roles of nurses in the war and medical fields. In 1865, Dix stepped down from her position, and after the war, Dorothea raised several funds for the building of the Natural Monument to honor the deceased soldiers, and this monument still stands in Fort Monroe, Virginia today. She also focused on working for better care of the mentally ill, which had been something Dorothea had wanted to accomplish for a long time. Overall, Dorothea had a life full of opportunities and accomplishments. She set several great examples for others to look upon. Something that I think made Dorothea supremely human was when she was superintendent of Army nurses and just overall working in that field even though she had no experience or knowledge of nursing. I think Dorothea is lesser known because she was a woman during this time, and women did not hold many rights and did not have much voice or opinions. Despite this, we should always remember her by the many accomplishments she made in her life and how much she sacrificed for the help of those who needed it most. Dorothea constantly pushed to always better society and help others. She saw how people were treated, and she even lived through hard times, and she always pushed to help, even the most unfortunate. Thank you for taking the time to watch me present my Lest We Forget project, and I hope you learned something new today.